What's up, guys? I'm currently big chillin' in the beautiful Florida sun right now, but in this video, we got another coaching call for you. So I was talking with this client, who's someone I met from my Discord server. They booked a call, and we got some pretty good value. So I'm going to briefly go over what we discuss. First things first, we talk about how to approach unfamiliar matchups. So if you're a Pokemon player, you've probably played some like really tough matchups and maybe you just kind of got smacked around like left and right. I want to teach kind of what to do in those unfamiliar situations. In addition, of course, it is a live coaching call, so we went ahead and got some games in. So we get to see how this person plays the game, and then you can see the critiques I give them. Most of it was mental stuff, which goes on to the next point. I don't know if you can see that. It is like raining volcanic ash because I have a grill right there. Oh man, my laptop got soaked in it though. Anyways, I basically teach some mental performance tips of how to play the game when you're under pressure. So during tournaments, it is a performance game, and performance anxiety is a real thing. So, kind of talking about that, how to not overthink, is a very simple thing that I teach in this video. Speaking of overthinking, I talk about the layered reading system. Name still pending. Basically, it's a 3-point system of how to gauge where your opponent's at in terms of the mental metagame and how to make reads more confidently. And somewhere in the middle of the video, we also talk about Terapagos Koraidon and the theory behind it. It's kind of cool because it's an offensive piece being the Koraidon with a defensive piece being the Terapagos. So you can have two different tempos of battle. It's really cool. But yeah, that's about everything I got for the intro, guys. Book a coaching session. I'll see you guys later. What is up, guys? I am joined here today with Ashley, who is one of my, I suppose, Discord members or clients. Recently, Ashley decided to book a coaching call for a just quick little training session. Briefly, we kind of chit chatted before this about the goals of the session. So I'm going to quickly lay the expectations, what we're kind of going to talk about in this call, and then maybe the proposed value you as the listener or viewer can gain. So in this call, basically, we are going to talk about how to approach unfamiliar matchups. So this is maybe if you are playing best of one and you don't quite know their team, or if you're playing best of three and you know their team, but maybe you don't quite know what to specifically do in a matchup. I'm going to talk about how to autopilot your way through matchups. I'm going to teach about what I mean. Whenever I say that, I'm going to go into a bit more detail for how to specifically do that. And then after that, I'm going to make sure that we are able to hit the Milwaukee prep, because Milwaukee is happening in how many days is it? Is it 10 days now?
Yeah, like 9 or 10, yeah.
Yeah, like it's happening in like 9 or 10 days. So, of course, we got to make sure that we're on like good terms for that, because that is literally very important, because we're obviously spending some money to go out there. So, we want to make sure that we can do a good tournament run. So, I guess that being said, I am ready to get into it. So, how this usually starts is I will go ahead and just ask a very brief question. I was just going to wonder, at the start of this call, I said we're going to talk about unfamiliar situations. I know you briefly mentioned that in your forum, kind of being like, unfamiliar with some situations. Could you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, what exactly do you mean by like, I suppose I could pull up the exact quote, but I suppose you would know better about what you meant. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, am I like speaking like a different
Yeah,
language or
exactly. I
okay?
know what you mean, yeah. So yeah, like especially at regionals or at locals, when someone pulls up the team that I've just never seen before, just not knowing how I want to game plan into it, and a lot of times I feel like I lose game one because of that, and I can win out games two and three, but like I feel like I'm always starting on the back foot against some of these teams where I just don't exactly understand what their game plan is, and trying to figure out what my game plan and like my strong leads into that are.
Gotcha. So, okay, I'm just gonna try to recap, just to make sure I really understand this fully. If I say anything wrong, let me know. If I'm right on the like nail is on the head, then just let me know I did a good job. So, first things first. Maybe does it feel like whenever you're approaching games, maybe it feels as if it's kind of hard to land that first strike, where it feels like your opponent's kind of always hitting you, where it hurts before you can find a way where you can hit them where it hurts. Would that be kind of accurate to say
Yeah,
that?
yeah, because I feel like especially with people playing some of like the weirder stuff or teams that like I just haven't seen, they have prepped maybe the matchup in their side, but I've never prepped it on my side. So like trying to find out how to make that on even footing has always been kind of a struggle for me.
Right. Okay. I totally get that. That makes sense. Okay. So I will briefly talk a little bit about that. So But before I go into that, it because a part of my answer is based on the team choices. So I'm gonna pull up your team. They can see it on the screen. I have your team pulled up, the Koraidon one. Could you briefly catch me up about how we kind of got here and what was the logic for each one of these pieces on this team?
So this is a lot of stuff that like has been coming. A core I've been using a lot has just obviously been like the Incinerilla Ogrepon core with Terapagos. I think Pagos is super good actually in Regi because of the fact that it has another restricted to just like take care of some of the damage or maybe deal with the threat that you are struggling with. And that's why I like the Koraidon a lot because I feel like Koraidon is basically super Scarf Annihilate where it takes out one, maybe two problematic Pokemon. And then the Pagos core is just able to play that balanced game plan and just win the game out. So that's
Right.
kind of how I came to it. I feel like Incinerilla Ogrepon is almost mandatory if you're playing Calm Mind Pagos, and Flutter feels almost mandatory if you're playing Koraidon.
I see. So it's
So that's
kind of
kind of
like a clash of two different worlds basically got going on. Like the offensive core of Koraidon Flutter, and then you rounded it
yeah,
out with the defensive take on the Terapagos.
yeah. And so like the whole and like the whole concept is basically of this is like Koraidon is less of like a restricted that we're building around and almost more of,
Damage trader.
as I said, almost Scarf Annihilate. But like it's close combating a or flare blitzing like maybe a Zamazenta or something that Terapagos doesn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
And then just leaving the field and I just gotta play defensive 3-on-3 with my most problematic Pokemon removed.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That is such a cool concept where it's like you just explode and then you have Terapagos to clean up the game once you get into like a 3v3. The one thing that I would
Yep.
recommend, this could be totally sick. I don't know how we could figure this out, but like I would love if we could somehow just like cheese on like a Scream Tail because that fits that style so well. Cause you just like trade 1 for 2 or like 2 for 1 or like yeah, 1 for 2. You cry on for two things, or cry on for one thing and then you just get in Scream Tail, boom, they can't switch out one of their Pokemon. Oh, it becomes so nasty. But that's just something else to think about in the future. But for right now, I like these six quite a lot. This looks really good. And by the
Mhm.
way, for the audience, I'm mostly gonna say this for the audience, but the reason like why I was talking about these like what the team was is because I really just wanted to highlight just the amount of pressure that was put into this team. You have a clear way to victory. You have the Koraidon trade and then the Terapagos cleanup. That is just such a simple and clean strategy to go off of. And of course, you can mix up the tempo. For example, you might not want to bring Terapagos. You might want to have a more volatile game plan with potentially the Fluttermane, Ogerpon, Koraidon, and Rillaboom. And I just want to highlight how building a team that has a lot of depth to it can allow you to have a lot of options. So I wanted to first ask if it was a team issue, because if you were having issues beating new teams you don't quite know what they're going to go for, the first thing I would always ask is it a team issue? And I'm going to go ahead and say I do not think it's a team issue. I think this team looks very solid. So I think you're building in a very good territory, a very good ground. So that's the first thing I would ask myself is it a team issue? And in this particular case, it is not. So we can check that one off and we can go a little bit deeper. Perfect.
No, yeah, I'm loving this team. I mean, and like Incinerilla is just such a comfort for me at this point.
Yeah, I love Incinerilla. It's awesome, especially at the spread, the 244, 188. So we can technically go split F Incin because we have Sun, so we don't really need to live the Surging Strike. So we could go split F. That's another possibility, but that's a discussion for another day. But what I mostly want to talk about is so we know it's not a team issue. So I kind of want to help you learn a system for how to think in we're gonna try out best of one because that's a chaos land. That is a unfamiliar territory that you don't know what you're going to see, and that's the best way to train yourself to chaos because you don't know what you're going to get thrown in the best of one ring. You can get anything. So we're gonna do a best of one here in a sec. On ladder, of course. But first things first, I want to train I want to teach the concept. I want to train you on the concept for approach how to approach games like that. So you already kind of said the answer, and I'll kind of guide you in the right direction. You already kind of said the answer. Um, and I'm just gonna like kind of reemphasize what you already said. It's the actual answer to the piece is you have to have a clear and cohesive game plan that is just your go-to. It's your autopilot. It is your default. So in your case, what is your go-to? I think you already said it, but if you have a different go-to, I'd love to. But yeah, what
Yeah.
is your go-to with this team?
So basically, like the flowcharting answer is Does Flutter Koraidon just sweep the entire team? If yes, lead that. If it doesn't, figure out which support pieces are best for Terapagos and figure out how I can position Koraidon into knocking out whatever their threat is that I'm scared of. Is it Zamazenta? Is it maybe an Urshifu and something like that? And figure out how do I position my answer into that. Either, as I said, either Koraidon. Sometimes it's Flutter because Flutter just is great into Ursh, and figuring out how do I take care of their answer because I feel like if Pagos doesn't have a clear counter, it's just able to just kind of do its thing and just win every game.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's like you pretty much got it. Like you hit the nail on the head. Like that's exactly it. You have a very clear flow chart to how to play the team up front, up against most stuff. So now it's got to be a playing thing. So now I have to see you play because it must be like a fundamental playing issue if that's the case. Because you have the theory down, like you totally get the theory behind it. It's like yeah, that's exactly how you can win matchups. You don't know what they're gonna do is if you just have a clear focal game plan that you typically go with in like 80% of your games, your autopilot mode. So I would
Yeah.
love to get you in a best of one and just kind of hear your thought process going to each turn.
Of course. Do you want me to log in and share my screen?
Yeah. How about this? How about you invite me to the game? I'm on Gaming Daily. That's the account I'm on. Totally
Okay.
just alt revealed for YouTube, but you know what? Who cares? Gaming Daily.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, add or just invite that account to the game, and then I'll just whenever I'm in, I'll let you know.
Okay. It's just you said that's the one.
Yep. Yeah, best of one for the chaos of it because that's what we're trying to
Mhm.
practice in.
I don't know if I've played Best of One in Regatta yet. Let's
Oh,
find out.
okay, if you haven't, low key.
Yeah. I've played like 6 games, so I'm incredibly low on the ladder right now.
Okay, let's do one best of one. It's like fishing, right? Like maybe we get a high
Yeah.
quality. That'd be ideal. But if we don't, we can just do a best of three after.
Yeah. Here, I sent you to the game and I allowed spectators.
Awesome. There it is.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me everything that's going on in your head right now.
So my first thought is just looking at this team is Lunal is the only thing that could even really touch Pagos right now is Urshifu, and I'm assuming they have Rain Dance Torn. And I'm assuming that is also Sacred Sword Zacian. So I think the two best. So I feel like I could actually just kind of balance this one out. Incin is really good into both of these. Incin's also really good into. I definitely want to make sure I have that. I want Rilibim for terrain to not let them just do silly side spam stuff. And I feel like if I could just position Koraidon to take out the Zama, so since that should be pretty clear one hit KO, in without terror or rain. I think that's pretty much my game plan of like Koraidon, Incin, Pagos, Rilla.
Okay.
Um,
So that's a very good identification of a layer one. Now let's try to think a little bit deeper. So that's a great starting ground for how the game's probably going to go. So let's add a little bit. What's their counterplay to Ensign? Well, I'll give you a little tiny hint. I can imagine if they have Meteor Beam and Lunala, that's going to be one thing they're going to try to play to get your Ensign. Do they
Meteor
have
Beam
anything
Lunala,
else?
Rain Dance Torn, and Ogrepon is there to hit the Incin.
Yeah. So if they go with Torn with Rain Dance and Lunala, does that theoretically counter our lead? And if so, how can we break it?
Torn and Ogrepon, I would say Rillaboom's pretty good into that. No, Rillaboom gets Bleak Winded.
Just go with your gut. Go with the
Uh,
instant lead you had first. Sorry, the timer's stressing
yeah.
me. Yeah, you had it. Just go
I
with
would
your
say Incin, Pagos, Koraidon, Rillaboom. Oh, let's see who I led. Whoops. Oh, I did not bring Terapagos because of timer.
Honestly, I don't hate this lead. This is not terrible. So
No,
let's go to this.
I think I would just double protect here and not get faked out.
Good idea.
Hoping they don't have Swords Dance or something, or sub. I mean, sub. I feel like that's the
Yes.
only punish right here.
Yeah, if they have sub, that would be a punish, wouldn't it?
Yeah. My other thought I'm looking at is since it's best of one is if you're gonna have Torn and you're gonna have Zacian, there's a chance you have a like Terra Grass or something, and I might be able to pin it.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty safe. I mean, Icy Wind should give me the speed control I need. What do they have in the back?
Oh, nice. Okay, so they
Oh,
blew their protect on Zacian. That means they're exposed this
that,
turn.
that's an insane play.
Yeah. Okay, that looks like I mean, what's going through your head?
Right now, I am sending a Flare Blitz in this direction. I don't think there's anything on their team that eats a Terrifier Flare Blitz.
I agree on that. That is being full sent. Yeah.
And I'm going to
Do
send
we
an Icy
terrify?
one. I think we Terrifier just in case they have a defensive Terra. I don't want to just get play roughed back and lose my main damage dealer.
Yeah, awesome.
Because,
So this, by the way, chat, I'm just gonna explain this. What just happened right here? So that was like a turn one blunder. like from the opponent, like cause like, and basically we're just trying to capitalize on it because now that Zacian protected, it removed the mind game this turn that it could protect this turn. So it was going to be a turn 2 mind game, but now it's gone. And now we just
Yeah,
collect material.
yeah, that's a very dead Zacian.
Oh yeah. Goodbye.
Right. Now my big fear is meter being Lunala, so I need to figure out how to break that.
Okay. Do we have Shadow Ball and Flutter?
No, we do not. We have Moonblast, Icy. Oh, we do. What am I saying?
Okay.
So if do I want to kill the ensign here? Because obviously
It's going to parting shot if you don't.
that's fair, but
I guess the
this
question
has
is.
no pressure.
Yeah, true. The question is, do we want to kill Torn or Ensign, I guess?
Yeah, I think it is ensign. I just I have no problem doing this and just sending a Shadow Ball at Torn in case they try and get clever. So my questions here are: do they Terra ensign? Or do they switch in Lunala? Or do they just let this happen? I could just do this and cover every scenario. I don't really care about this Torn right here. Oh, I timed out. No.
Oh, shoot. Timed out.
Sorry, I'm trying to talk through all my plays and I'm timing out because of it.
Yeah, no, I got you. Happens. Okay.
Here I want to switch out Koraidon. That's at -2. I don't think it has any pressure.
Sure, what are we switching to?
I think I have to switch into Rillaboom.
Yeah, that was the right answer. Good job.
And I'm going to just Shadow Ball here just to see.
Yeah, good job. Limit check. Okay, force the Terra.
Oh, I'm so
Presumably
faster.
it's Meteor Beam. Oh, Dazzle. Okay.
Did not expect that.
Yeah, no
So if
right.
you're Dazzle here and you're Terra Fairy, okay, I was making sure there wasn't like leftovers or something to show that they didn't have
Calmly.
Power Herb. I think I just go back into Koraidon.
Yeah, it can work. I think this is a play turn. We got to make a play here. We either kill Lunala, calling it to not click protect, or we just fake it out and kill the Torn.
My other thought was to try and catch him on the protecting, switch an instant on Rilla.
Oh, okay.
And
that might be an overthought, but that's up to you. You know, it's like.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I think that is actually where we figured out the issue was. I could just not worry about stuff. Oh, sick.
Okay, Ensign comes in. Rain Dance. Okay.
Yeah, this is where having this Ensign dead would have been so nice if I didn't misclick that.
Yeah. So now it's gonna be a bleak win.
Yep.
Ironically, your instant play would have been really good here. That's so funny. So that's good identification. You're in.
Yeah, I think I switched to Ensign.
Definitely.
I just send this close com. Oh no, why am I gonna eat that?
I was gonna wonder if we could switch Ensign from the Koraidon slot and potentially get off a U-turn on their Ensign. See if we can get away with that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We fake out
so that way we just eat this one. Yeah, I should eat a bleak one.
Yeah, AV. Nice. Okay. Now, is this Torn Covert Cloak is a real question.
I think the answer is we have to find out right now. The answer is
yes.
Now
yes. We know.
Yeah. So this is really awkward, because I don't have a good way to hit this.
Right. Yeah, that's where Trap Ghost would have been funny.
Yeah, I think I just have to go for. I'm trying to hit the Koraidon and parting shot out, and maybe see if I can limit some of this damage.
Nice. Oh. Okay.
So they have Gleam Moongeist. Do they have room for?
I think they're probably Wide Guard Meteor Beam, if I were to guess, but I don't know because they don't really have a Trick Room core, you know.
I have no way to damage this Lunala.
Oh yeah. Nah, he's gonna Bleak Wind right now, and it's gonna be very painful.
Yeah. How much did Bleak Wind do? 43. So I lived the Bleak Wind, but I don't live that they double of.
Yeah. You could call them to Moongeist Beam into your Koraidon and choke, and maybe you switch to Ensign, U-turn, get Fake Out next turn, and maybe you can try to go for a cash-in with Sun Up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's probably it.
Yeah, but this involves a blunder from the opponent, so we're acknowledging that if they Moongeist Beam into Rillaboom, we lose. Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
That's fair.
I think this one is over.
Okay, I think the actual play is you Flare Blitz into the Tornadus and knock it off and just pray that he protects Lunala and goes for Rain Dance. We just try to kill it.
Yeah.
Just like hope for a choke, I think.
I think this game would have been really easy if we brought the mons that we talked about bringing.
Yeah, with Terapagos, yeah.
And if we didn't time out again. Okay, I live. I'm dead.
Yep, dead. Good try. All right, GG.
Yeah. I think let's move a little faster, but I think.
Yeah. Okay, I got a lot of insight from this. Okay, so I'm gonna be brutally, absolutely everything.
Oh, I love brutal.
Awesome.
It's so much more perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna totally just I'm gonna give you absolutely all my insight.
Yeah, no, I learned my life in kitchens from chefs who had no filters.
Right. Okay, so you're used to I got you the Gordon Ramsay stuff. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I got you. Okay, so that brutally honest. Okay, so I'm gonna be so okay. So first things first. I notice your brain goes at like a million miles a second, and that is both that'll be your biggest blessing and your biggest downfall. If you
Mhm,
think too quickly and play, you will trip and you will fall. I notice
mhm,
you operate typically on layer 2 and 3. So there's a 3 layer system whenever it comes to reads in Pokemon. There is the layer 1 play, which is the basics, the fundamentals, the layer 2,
mhm,
which is the read, and the layer 3, which is the overread. So typically good
mhm,
play takes place between 1 and 2. The layer 3 is where you start taking a lot of risks. I noticed that you
mhm,
take a lot of risks in your game plan because you give your opponent almost too much respect. Where keep in mind, our game plan, it was kind of it got foiled because of the Terapagos thing. Whatever we were like, going back and forth, and that's just the nature of being
mhm,
called. That's totally okay. I'm not counting that at all. But what I did
mhm,
notice is like just like the amount of like thoughts that would come to your head in a given turn, like, oh, this could happen, or this could happen, this could happen, this could happen as well. It was
mhm,
like a very kind of all over the place. So my goal for you is to identify just 2 things on every turn. If you can just do this, we can simplify it down so
mhm,
much more. The number one thing you got to ask yourself is, what do I have that threatens my opponent? And then the number 2 thing you have to ask is, what do they have to threaten me? And if you just get those 2 things answered, it clears up everything. And I know it seems so simple, right? It's like, well, I already think of that in one of my hundreds of thoughts,
mhm.
in the span of the past few minutes.
Yeah.
That's the one I thought of. I get it. It's one that comes, but those are the 2 things you want to set your attention to focusing on is, what is my threat to them? And it's going to be usually 1 to 3 Pokemon, unless you have a crazy good matchup and you have all 4 and you're like, oh, I can't lose this. I just have to play it this way. But that's very rare. It's like usually it's going to be like 2 key Pokemon, maybe
Mhm,
one, like, yeah, usually 2 key Pokemon in each matchup.
mhm,
So I would identify like the 1 to 3 Pokemon on your side that commands the most respect from the opponent, and then
mhm,
I would find the 1 to 3 Pokemon on their side that commands the most respect from you. And you have to respect those Pokemon. They have to respect your Pokemon. You kind of just gentlemen's both agree to play that game plan, and that's the general kind of gist of
mhm.
like a true game of Pokemon. Is both people agree to metagame at a certain level,
Yeah.
and the goal is the metagame you set up is stronger than your opponent. So the goal is that metagame you set up is the best metagame to approach it. And if your opponent doesn't do that, they lose because they're not up with it. That's the goal, is you come up with that metagame with your own kind of planning, and you set the parameters and you understand the parameters of the game, and then you work within those. You lead off with those. That's the layer 1. If you understand the layer 1 workings of every game, then you understand the
Yeah.
framework, how it works, and then from there you can add stuff. But you got to understand the basics and the fundamentals, which I think you do. Based on this call, I can tell you understand like the flow of the game, everything very well.
Mhm,
But I just think you're getting all scattered with like the reads, of what could happen, all that.
mhm.
Just operate on a basic programming that is, understand the base game first. Look at it from the fundamental perspective, then you can get fancy. But first, understand the fundamentals, because especially low on ladder, all you got to do is out fundamental these people. Once you show your fundamentals, they'll be like, "Oh shoot, I couldn't keep up with that," and then you just beat them. No reads were made. You just played better. But
Yeah.
if you're in top play, it's going to be a mind game of, it's like, now we both know the basic rules. Do you break the rules, or are you going to follow the rules, or do I expect you to break the rules? So I'm going to stay
Mhm.
within the rules. That kind of thing. But
Yeah.
for right now, I just want you to focus on just a general way to get your game structured, which is going to be asking those 2 questions.
Yeah.
What's my biggest threat to them, and what's their biggest threat to me? Cover for the worst case, but be ready for the best case. And that's, if you can think of those 2 things, I will say we had a great call. So,
That
next
makes
thing for
so much.
you, go to a best of 3. I'd love to see you think of those. But before we get into those, give me feedback though. So far, like, do you have any questions? Because I kind of want to put you on the spot. Can you repeat kind of
Mhm,
everything I said so I can make sure you understood it and I can check for
mhm.
gaps?
So basically, instead of going for reads and thinking over the reads and overreads, before I do that, think about what is the basics of the game and playing to the fundamentals of how do I threaten my opponent? How does my opponent threaten me? What do I do to threaten them? And how do I make sure I'm the one being the one threatening?
Yeah.
And
You identify that, that's it. And just operate within that until the
right,
opponent shows that they're capable of operating within that. If they operate there, if they prove to you through their lead, and you can identify what layer they're on based on their lead, by the way. Because if you can
yeah,
like classify in your head, like, oh, the layer 1 is they should go with this, and my layer 1 is this. So I'm going to go with layer 2, which is reading that they read that. That's both risky but also high rewarding, because if you get it right, you nail them. But if
mhm,
you get it wrong, then, because this is why I always in game ones I always open on layer 1, is because what if the
mhm,
opponent doesn't even understand the metagame yet. If they're just like clicking, I just don't want him to click the right button. I'm like, shoot, I was not ready for that. It's like I gotta prepare for the basics. It's like, and then only only go for a read once your opponent shows that they're willing to make a read. If they're willing to play dirtier than them. Be like, oh, okay, we're playing the dirt game. I'll play dirtier than you. I get it. You're trying to read me. You're ignoring the rules. I'll ignore the rules a little bit. I'll cheat too. I'll do that. But yeah, that only happens if you get there. But try to avoid that. Just try to open it up with just the most basic, like mathematical supercomputer play.
Yeah, so basically, why? So this runs. We had a chef once yell at me, "Why hard when easy?"
I love that. Wait. Sorry, say that again. Wait. So the philosophy is just why hard when easy.
Yeah,
I love that. So I
yeah,
assume you were just making it really complex. And there's probably a pattern. If a coach yelling at was if a chef was yelling at you for that earlier, now a coach is
mhm,
yelling, and I'm not yelling, but if a coach is telling
yeah,
you the same thing, and if it's completely independent cases, it's probably a parallel. It's like, oh, I should just take it a little bit easier, just take a deep breath.
yeah,
So here's gonna be my challenge for you. This is gonna be exciting. We're gonna do this in call right now. We're gonna do a best of 3. I'm gonna be the birdie in our ear. I'm just gonna mute, but if you need me, just like, be like, yo, Brady, can you help me? And then, I'll give you my insight, but I want to just see how you operate. And I'm gonna challenge you before we get into the game. Take
mhm,
a deep breath. It's going to look like this. It's going to be 8 seconds of breathing in. So you're going to empty out your lungs, breathe in for 8 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for another 8 seconds. So that total thing is only going to be a 20-second process. 8 seconds
mhm.
inhaling, 4 seconds holding, 8 seconds exhaling. If you can do that, I think that will help stabilize your heart rate, stabilize your brain, everything, just you're locked in, and then use that state to open up your next game and just trust in your natural computer because you got a good one. I can tell from the way you're speaking all this stuff. You just got to sort through all the junk you got, all those other programs you have going on, and just find that one cohesive one that just leads you right to victory in your own style. And, before you know it, you'll be a killer. But, you just got to figure out how to operate in that flow state. Once you get that, that's where you want to be.
Nice. Okay, I appreciate that. All right, let's go play a game. Let's see how bad this Elo dive was yesterday. I was starting.
All right.
All right.
So you in the game? All right. Do that deep breath and
Oh,
link the game. Awesome. Yeah, just go ahead and link that game when
yeah.
you're
Now
ready.
look at that game.
Let's
Oh,
get into it.
this is actually something I recognize a lot. This is a really cool adaptation.
Let's see.
Right. So I'm looking through their team right now. So my first thought is they do not have a Torn with Rain Dance. Okay, no, simpler. The things that threaten me most is Calyrex Ice Rider is very threatening to a lot of my Pokemon and a lot of my Kyogre answers. So because of the fact that if I want to, okay, so we're thinking think simpler. My biggest threats are obviously they're too restricted. I don't think Regieleki is very threatening to me, and I think Cornerstone is only threatening to me in certain circumstances. I don't think they have a great answer into Pagos.
Yeah, that's a great
Um,
analysis.
I actually really like starting with Pagos, Rillaboom, Koraidon in the back, and I think I like Ensign
Yep, that's the right answer.
as
Because
just a safe session.
yeah, you got it.
All right, awesome.
Before you
I think
continue on with this, I gotta say, good job identifying Ensign in the back. Because if you didn't bring Ensign, the only hole in your game plan is gonna be this Calyrex. But because you brought Ensign, it's now covered for us. So good stuff.
great. So I think getting Calm Mind set up is really important because that way Kyogre is really not a threat. That way Regieleki and Lando aren't threats either. So if I just set up Calm Mind and just a little fake out, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. Yeah.
You
I also
almost
don't.
you almost overthought it and was wondering if Friddraft was gonna come in, didn't you?
Yep. I was wondering if I wanted to make a U-turn play.
Yep. Yeah. I'm telling you, I can tell. I can. That's awesome. Do you see? You just simplified it down. Your opponent didn't command respect yet, so you played it slow and you got the reward. So good stuff. Keep up this momentum.
And now I'm going to pivot out. U-turn is pretty safe here. I don't think they want to Trick Room here, but I could be wrong. Yep. I think I want to get one more Calm Mind up. I know that it is a little greedy. However, I think 2 Calm Minds is pretty much my sweet spot on Pagos.
Yeah, I totally agree. That puts you at a good number in a Kyogre. You're no longer threatened by the Landorus. That's a great number to go for.
Calm Mind.
Oh, this is killer too, because if they get rid of the Ensign, then you get a free switch into Koraidon. Like that'd be so
Yeah.
sick.
I'm going to attempt a parting shot out on the Ogre. So they're probably going to kill Ensign this turn. Like, I feel like that's something they have to do.
Definitely.
I would rather preserve Vincent. Okay. So I want to send a baby Starstorm and a parting shot. Yep, that's totally fine. So getting Koraidon in here sounds like a great spot. No, it doesn't.
The plans changed. Yeah.
This is still not a bad spot.
Not at all.
Um,
We just got to get rid of this Ice Rider. That is public enemy number one.
I'm going to baby Starstorm the Ogre Pawn, fake out the Calyrex. Just keep it simple.
Okay, yeah, I got you. I got you. Slowing it down. That's good.
All right. So I live.
Oh
Glacial
yeah, I
Ice.
saw that. I saw that 204 defense. Yeah, I know exactly what that was
Yeah.
for.
So I think I'm really safe to just. So I think I want to spread Starstorm just in case of follow me.
Yeah, and you could double knock on the board here, can't you? If you get that, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and just U-turn out of here.
The
Because I
one,
don't think they're gonna call that Rillaboom is gonna live this. Yep.
although the one critique I got for you, it could have been kind of sick to maybe go for like Grassy Glide instead of a U-turn, because then we could have switched into Koraidon on the incoming Kyogre, but that would be like 40 chess levels of just thinking like positional game ahead. But it's also not the end of the world, right? Because you can just switch into Rillaboom and just sack
Yeah.
Rillaboom and do the same thing, so it doesn't technically
Yep.
matter.
Very cool. So I think I just fight here. I don't think I have a reason to like. How much? I'm 112 speed. So the question is, there's no way a Kyogre is that slow in a lucky team. I feel like.
Okay, so you're using your risk evaluation here. Okay, so you're gonna take a risk. I got you.
Yeah, and I think I've two. No, I think if I'm in Sun, I guarantee win this, and so like I don't want to throw.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Because it's solvable. It's mathematically solvable now because we're so far ahead.
Yeah.
We just don't want to toss and lose to a crit. That's all we got to do.
Yep. Yep. And is okay. That's
Good job. That was like I was like I was playing the devil's advocate. I was like leaning into like the yes, like get greedy because I was hoping for like a lesson. But good stuff.
mhm.
Good stuff. You saw right through that. Good job. That's the kind of discernment
Yep.
you'll need in moments like this. Good job.
All right, and I just protect here, and I think this game just plays itself out now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job on that game too. So before we get into game two, let's set or good on game one before getting to game two. There we go. Let's get into our tempo. So we got 30 seconds. By the way, fun fact, if you don't click the I'm ready, nothing will happen. So you get free 30 seconds to just breathe, collect yourself, take those 20 seconds, do that little box breathing exercise we talked about. Remember, 8 seconds in, here, I'll do it with you. 4 seconds hold and exhale. Stabilize that heart rate. All right, let's get into game two.
Great, awesome. I think they don't have an answer into what I just did.
Yeah, the Terapagos game plan was very cohesive.
Yeah. So the one question is, no, it is okay. I figure I answered myself.
Okay, well, I'm just curious because maybe someone in the chat had the same question.
Yeah, so my question is it better to lead Incin to get Intimidate off on maybe the Rock Pond first, or is it better to lead Rillaboom to get healing if I need it?
All right, so first thing I'd ask myself in a game two is how can my opponent adjust to what I just did? And the answer for them is for a draft. So I would expect the for a draft, and that's where my mind would be at right now.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like for a draft makes sense. So if we assume they want to do it for a draft lead.
No, not lead. They'll have it in the back. They're gonna try to bait you into fake out.
Yeah, I still think I lead like this then, and just play the same game plan and make them prove it's gonna work. Oh, yeah. This is an interesting adaptation.
That's a very interesting adaptation, yeah.
Because my other thought was the Alecki game plan. I have something incredibly safe I could play here.
Oh, okay. What's your safe play? I want to hear it.
So if I Calm Mind and fake out Kyogre, I'm not taking much damage.
Okay.
And then I could just U-turn out into Sun. Oh, okay. Interesting. That is not what I expected. Just switching right there.
Not at all. Oh, cool. Nice. We'll have Terra Shell quite back. Oh, nice. There's no. Okay. So, we just took note, by the way. Your opponent is not operating within the typical metagame. So they're a phase. They're a layer 0 player, which is defined as they don't have a sufficient understanding of the proper metagame that should be established. In simpler terms, they're off the rails right now. So they're a little bit in that uncharted, like unpredicted area because we don't quite know what they're thinking of. But I would just take a note. They're thinking in some kind of fallacy and they're inevitably going to make a mistake. So we just got to catch them on it. I think going Ogre Pawn is low-key a mistake. I think you have a very solid next play.
Yeah, I just protect and U-turn.
That could work.
Like, what did they?
Or you could just, if you want to go for damage right now would be not a bad time to just start pumping it out and just go for like Terra Stellar Starstorm to KO this Ogre Pawn, get a free switch into Incin, Will-O-Wisp the Calyrex. That's up to you.
No, I like that. Yeah. I just was like, I always just like to save my. Oh, they were calling the Incin switching, or were they just trying to get damage?
Yeah, they just want to get damage. They thought you were going to protect just like you did last time. But we're not doing that, not say.
Yeah.
This is, yep, switching up our battle styles. That's very good. So now we
Mhm.
technically know we get a free fake out on Ogrepon, but I'm low key thinking we can just go for a Starstorm and knock off on a Calyrex and just kind of pin it. Or if we're crazy, we can switch out into Incin. But yeah, that's kind of switch out into Rillaboom, I meant to say. But yeah, I think this plays fine too because yeah, we should be able to. What's gonna happen? They're gonna go into their Cali or their Regielite, or they're gonna go into Kyogre.
Water Sprout, Glacial Lance is a pin on anything I want to switch in here.
Oh yeah, I would protect Terapagos, let it go, let Incin go down, buddy. You Incin, you do your job, my friend. But it's Koraidon's turn to shine here, I think. Yeah, I think
I
Incin's gonna
am
go.
going to try and see if I could get this and see if they mess up somewhere.
Nice. Yeah, I try to go for a parting shot. Obviously, 'cause best case, you just get it off, right? But worst case, which we are already anticipating, is Incin goes down like 99 times out of 100. Oh, we can punish the Kyogre because it Terra watered now. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they just forfeited. They realized.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Great.
So, yeah, awesome. So, that breathing framework, like that breathing like technique we talked about, it's called box breathing. There's like actual scientific studies and stuff behind it. But I would totally recommend just like, trying that out next time you do a little ladder session, just in between each game. Because if you're about to go into an intense one, you can afford the 20 seconds, to just take a quick breath. Because, best case, it changes the outcome of the battle. Worst case, you're down 20 seconds and you have a slightly calmer pace of breathing. I think it's a very good trade-off. Um, so that's what I'd recommend for those kind of high pressure moments, especially ones that are unfamiliar. I think your biggest strength is probably your natural computing. You have a very quick processor. So, like I said, that's going to be your biggest blessing and your biggest curse. So just remind yourself that you're in control of your computer and your computer is not in control of you. You're driving your computer. Just remember that. It's like you got a good mind, but just remind yourself that you are in charge of your mind. If you can keep yourself in control of that just simple thought, then you can drive your mind to victory and let it think in a specific path that leads to a bigger goal. So, that's something you'll get what I'm talking about another day. But, basically all I'm saying is all you got to work on is not thinking more. It's just thinking less. Just think less about it and filter through the bad thoughts from the good thoughts. And the goal is to try to only think those good thoughts. And whenever you're playing good Pokemon, you'll notice this. You'll notice it kind of sounds like whispers. It doesn't really sound like, being yelled at by like your subconscious. Maybe you have thoughts of people in the kitchen yelling at you, very fast paced. Like, you can drop all that here. You can create a new safe space in your own mind, one that's much more calm. It's like much more enjoyable. And that's like, what my goal for you is to try to focus on like, yes, like you have a great brain, but just remind yourself you're in control of your brain. If you can master that, I think that'll help you reach the next level.
No, I really appreciate that. That's like something that I've never even thought about, and that's something that's makes a lot of sense to be able to work on.
Yeah. Awesome. So I guess we still have about 10 more minutes here. Do you got anything else you want me to touch on? Anything related to team, or do you just want to leave it there? My time's
So
yours.
yeah, I
Next
just have
10
one
minutes.
question.
Go for it.
So you were looking at this team, and you mentioned Screamtail.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, where would that be able to fit onto here? Because Screamtail is a cool mon.
That's a good question. So I would assume it would have to be presumably over the Flutter Mane. And we could replace one of Ogrepon and Cinderella, like if we wanted to go in that direction, but we wouldn't have to. I'd say,
Mhm.
yeah, either do that or yeah, that's a tough one. It's like it's really hard, right? Like because I want
I
to
feel
do
like the
that.
team,
I just don't know how.
yeah, like because I know the Victory Road winning team didn't have a Rilla. The Victory Road top three Pagos Koraidon team didn't have a Rillaboom,
Yeah.
but that just doesn't feel good to me in my head.
I feel that. Right, it's because the leftovers, with the grassy train becomes so valuable. We used it so
Yeah,
much
they
in the last
had
game.
Raging Bolt over it as their
Okay,
sulfate use there.
gotcha. Yeah, no, that is a great. Okay, so, man, that's so tough. Like okay, if we were to go Screamtail, my only fear is we lose because the whole thing about Fluttermane is it's it it's so good at with poo poo offense. It just like click,
Yeah,
and that's what we need, right? That's what you
yeah.
know Trapagos
This
really
team is going to be
needs.
too tight.
Right. I think, yeah, the current direction you're running it in works. I'm just
Mhm.
wondering, like, yeah, you'd have to go a different direction from what I'd say. I know exactly how to do this, right? All you gotta do, replace Incin, Rilla, Ogrepon, and just start with Terapagos, Screamtail, Koraidon, and just start brand new from there and just think about the checklist of what it needs, how it looks to operate. I think we need another boom mode. We need like something like we go Koraidon plus X. It could be Fluttermane. We could just slap Fluttermane on there, just cause. And the whole point is to leave Fluttermane Koraidon in game them with Terapagos Screamtail and just get that from turn one. Just get a double kill. We could go Chi-Yu as well. And just like it's like just try to get those end games with Terapagos Screamtail. And that's what the team could force. We'd have to build around that though. We couldn't really slap it on the Incinerilla mode, I don't think.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this team, I feel like if you want to go if I want to go that like more defensive mode, which is more my play style, I feel like that Incinerilla is such a good backbone. But that could be interesting to make like a more aggressive team where Pagos is less of a like game plan and more of just like a win con at the end.
Yeah, that's it sounds really cool, right? And that's what I like about Double Restricted is that you can afford to build stuff like that. It's like you have like different tools. Like, I love Double Restricted. But yeah, I
This is my
think
first restricted format. I only started playing in Reg F, so this is like pretty cool to me.
oh, no way. Yeah, Double Restricted is my absolute favorite. It's like, you can just like you can main an archetype the entire season. And by archetype, I mean restricted duo that you really fall in love with, and you can just get crazy with it. You can become like a mad scientist and just like pursue like a million different builds of the same thing because like odds are you probably put like enough time into that one archetype to be the top 1% or 0.1% pioneer of it. So your opinion's probably worth more than anyone else's, only for the sole reason that you've invested so much time into it. It's like, so that's the kind of stuff you can do in double restricted because it gives that focal point of directions to go in. It's like the restricted's like the stakeholders, and then however
Yeah,
deep into the mine you go, it's like you don't know if you'll find gold, but where your stake lies. So it's really cool.
yeah, no, that's really sick. Like this and this duo just feels so good of the Pagos Koraidon. Like just having that like Pagos is a mon I never touched in Reg G, so like I'm kind of surprised I just gravitated to it so hard, but it's just been really good for me.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, I guess then I guess we can go ahead. Let's do some closing thoughts, but before that, I kind of want to do like a brief little review. So everything we went over today, do you feel like you gained like some value from that? And if so, what was the best piece of value you gained? And then in addition, is there anything that I can improve upon for a future session so I can make these more streamlined, more enjoyable, and just overall contribute more value to the time frame today?
I think I gained an absurd amount of value today, actually. I think you were able to identify something like in a mindset way that isn't something that you could gain from just like grinding ladder, and I think that is just invaluable. And I think that was like really cool that you're able to just identify of like what how to streamline my own thoughts rather than being like here's how you should be playing this. And I think like learning how to streamline my own thoughts and just like be the best player of me I can be is like really important.
Oh yeah, that is huge. Awesome. So we got that. So that's good. Any feedback, any sort of like constructive, like, maybe a structure. I know with our individual session, I wish I personally was able to do my homework a bit more because I was kind of in the beginning of the call on the fly, going through a sheet. That's not
And
typically how I do that. So, I want to apologize on that because I wasn't able to give you the full experience, but, I hope everything else is good.
no, this is amazing.
And yeah.
No, this was super helpful. Like, and that's something I'm just gonna work on and like do some more research on of like how to do it. And I also sent you the information on my lunch break today at like 1 o'clock. So like, I'm not expecting you to
That's true.
not be doing anything during the day.
Okay, well, I mean, thank you for that. That actually, I did kind of forget, like you got it around. Okay, thank you. That actually, that does make you feel a little bit better. That's awesome. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
good. So here's what I'm gonna do, for you because you express interest in homework. Um, okay, so chat, if you guys are sticking around to like this end, following, conclusion, what I'm gonna do for this is gonna be like my first time doing this one of these videos. I'm going to go ahead and try to make a follow along sheet. Now, I'm going to be preface this. It is going to be more or less AI generated, just so you know. However, it is going to be quality checked. I'll ensure I'm not going to give you guys junk. I promise you that. I'm going to look through it, but having like a whole framework, I'm going to make sure it's a good system. It's a good follow through guide for this call. So in case you want to kind of go through the checklist, if you have your own kind of personal stuff. However, what I was thinking for you, Ashley, is what I go ahead and do and is give you just a personalized like a little tiny like approach so basically in the future. Okay, what here's I'll take a step back because now I'm kind of getting lost in the details. Basically, I want to give you a homework piece is my first thought. And what in my head I'm thinking would be very valuable to you is maybe something that could be measured along the side of playing ladder plus doing those mental checks of baking those into your ladder sessions, I think, of those
Yeah.
like, the breathing stuff. So I feel like maybe doing that in, let's just say, 5 best of 3 sets, of doing the breathing stuff before each game, the
Mhm.
20 seconds, so just kind of recollecting your breathing. And the homework part of it, the mental or like the how you'll get the most fruits out of this is by writing notes on the before and after and looking at it objectively. Did the breathing help you? And if so, where did you feel its effects the most? And you can kind of try
Yeah.
to pinpoint that feeling and then research that feeling and then try to your next job and like your next kind of level is going to be pinpointing that feeling of kind of flow and just operating in that like next level of consciousness. And if you can reach
Mhm.
that, your next level, you'll get there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully the homework makes sense. If you do go ahead and do that, send it to
Mhm.
me. And then I would love if you had a great, time doing that, maybe like a follow-up, either like a call or just like a message or something. So I'm kind of busy, not gonna lie, I take a lot of calls.
Yeah.
But yeah, like maybe just some kind of feedback. If you just like let me know like after you finish that up and just like, update us just so I can maybe update the video and let them know like an update in the description or something, or maybe you can leave a comment in
Sure.
it. That would just be like so awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely for sure. Thank you.
Awesome.
And
Well,
thank you for this. Pretty
yeah,
awesome.
no, thank you so much for your time today, Ashley. I really appreciate you. I really hope you guys in chat gained some kind of value or something from this. I hope that someone who maybe had a very similar problem set to Ashley here, maybe saw this, felt very heard. If that was the case for you, go ahead and leave that in the description. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you once again, Ashley. First of all, I'll just
Mhm.
thank you for your time. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Not really.
Okay. Well, thank
This
you
was
so
super
much.
helpful.
Oh, sorry. What am I say? Yeah, I heard some.
I said this was just like really helpful. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you once again. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, all that YouTuber stuff. It really does help as I'm trying to build up this brand. But yeah, I really hope you guys gain some kind of value from this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out and goodbye.